Are you smart? Think about that for a second. The quality of being smart is extremely sought after, especially in the context of school. You may have heard others being called smart because they got a good grade on a test, or solved a really hard math problem, or maybe just because they raised their hand and got the answer right. But what is smart, and how do we define it? As someone who's lucky enough to be good at tests and exams, I've often been called smart, but I've also heard others call themselves dumb. This brought to mind a quote, one which is commonly attributed to Albert Einstein, and says, "Everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it'll live its entire life believing that it is stupid." Fun fact, Einstein did not in fact say this. What Einstein may have still allegedly said was this: while a bird, a monkey, a penguin, a fish, a seal, and a dog line up, an official says, for a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. Please climb that tree. And this, regardless of whether or not Einstein said it, clearly illustrates the issue with how examinations have shaped educational systems today. While no one is intentionally judging a fish on its tree climbing abilities, students of all different skill sets are being taught and tested in the exact same way. Within a group of students, there are birds and monkeys who will have no trouble succeeding, but there are also fish and dogs who will. This is a phenomenon that I call the standardization of intelligence. I wouldn't be up here today telling you all this if the system as it currently existed didn't have any issues, so clearly it does. Standardized assessments negatively impact students regardless of whether they're deemed intelligent or not. The first of these problems is altered self-image. Consistently failing at the same tests that others are succeeding in can cause you to question the way that you view yourself. This can shake your core belief on your value as a person, reducing your self-esteem and self-confidence. A student who is being misrepresented by their standardized test scores may begin saying to themselves things like, "I'm dumb, I can't do it, and I'm never going to succeed in life." This clearly has negative impacts on their mental health and can significantly hamper their prospects by discouraging them from attempting areas which they may succeed in when working practically, but might struggle in when being tested. The second problem is academic pressure. Exams are not exams if they're not stressful. But the problem that many do not realize, even higher scoring students face, is the pressure to score as high or higher on every single test. It becomes expected of them, if not internally, then externally. Fearing how others may perceive them if they got a B instead of their usual A, not knowing how to approach a teacher after getting lower marks than expected. What's worse is, as you go higher up the standards of school, the standard becomes harder and harder to maintain, as course content becomes more complex, assignments become more demanding, and you generally don't know what it is you're doing. Finally, standardized assessments can lead to burnout, which is defined as collapse due to overwork or stress, which can be mental or physical. Burnout is a growing but often overlooked issue in students, and rates of it are rising drastically. This is likely due to hustle culture and increased emphasis in getting into a good university. Students are being bombarded with success stories on social media, compared by the supposedly objective measure that is their test scores. There is a lot. These issues are deep-rooted and can affect all different students in all different ways. I am not the first to notice these problems, so there have been efforts made to improve our currently not so great education systems. And the best example of this is Finland. Finland consistently ranks highly in international ratings of science, math, and reading comprehension, all while their education system has no standardized testing, aside from a voluntary matriculation exam for high school seniors. Students are graded on an individualized basis set by their teachers. Teachers themselves are highly qualified, required to have a master's degree or above. Removing standardized testing has the added benefit of creating an environment of collaboration in schools, free from ranking of schools or students. Ironically, this exact same attitude has caused Finland to lead international ratings for quality of education. Furthermore, by reallocating resources which would have been used on improving standardized test scores, schools in Finland have been able to improve in what actually matters, making school a more equitable place. Since the 1980s, Finnish educators have prioritized individualized guidance and counseling, access to free meals and healthcare, as well as using education as a tool to balance out social inequalities when designing systems for education in the country. They also have the least amount of homework in the world. So you can tell that to that one teacher next time they try to give you your third homework assignment in 1 week. You may have noticed that we are not, in fact, in Finland. We are in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, where educational reform is still in the process of happening. So what can you, as a student or an educator, do to make the school environment a little bit easier for yourself and others? Number 1, find out what fulfills you and stick with it. When you find something outside of school that makes you happy, it can offset the negative impact that exams have on your mental health. So, make that music, do that drama, and play that basketball. Schools offer extracurriculars for a reason, and it doesn't even have to be connected to school. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of online programs and communities waiting to be discovered that could engage your mind in compelling and creative ways. Number 2, shift your mindset. School is meant to be a place of learning, and whether or not it actually fulfills that goal, it provides a lot of opportunities to learn new things. When you come to school prepared to learn, rather than prepared to pass, you may find that those pesky test scores will matter a lot less when you have the joy of actually having learned something tangible. And on the topic of enjoying yourself, number 3, make it fun. If you can't beat them, join them, right? And since exams are currently inevitable for most students, the best thing that you can do is try to improve the studying process in any way that you can. This can mean using colorful pens when taking notes, or studying at a cafe with friends. Anything that you can do to let go of the idea that studying for exams needs to be difficult and hard. And finally, be kind to yourself. School, like life, is hard, and you cannot be at your best at all times. So it is important to remind yourself that is okay. That sometimes you have given all that you can, even if your all isn't 100%. We are not studying machines, so if you can't, you can't. And being mad at yourself for that does nothing to help the situation. The way that I manage the energy I put towards things is what I call the 20-30-50 model. Because you cannot sustainably give 100% to all things at all times, give at least 20% to things that you enjoy, your hobbies and interests that fulfill you and make you happy. At least 30% to things that you have to do, like schoolwork, assignments, and studying, and at least 50% to things that are top priority at the moment, be it a big test or a big performance. Priorities can be in the must or want category, and this model is absolutely flexible, but it is what's working for me and what I think could work for you. So, to answer the question I asked you all in the beginning, are you smart? The answer is, it doesn't matter. Intelligence as it is currently perceived today through test scores and school performance is unsustainable and is a wholly unrepresentative metric by which to gauge your value as a student or even as a person. It is clear that educational systems need to change, both for students and for education as a whole. I'd like to end with a quote that Einstein actually, definitely, 100% this time, said. I want to oppose the idea that school has to teach directly that special knowledge and those accomplishments which one has to use later directly in life. The development of general ability for independent thinking and judgment should always be placed foremost. And that, my friends, is why we must overcome the standardization of intelligence. Thank you.